Hello, this week I'm going to talk about this camera here, which belonged to my grandfather. When my father first showed it to me many years ago, he told me a story about him and his father taking this picture of the Maeshowe dragon and the ruins that are in Maeshowe. Now Maeshowe is a chambered cairn, just a distance along the road there. And in Viking times, the roof had fallen in, and on one stormy night, some Vikings sheltered in there, and they scratched runes into the walls, and a picture of this beastie here. The reason that my grandfather was taking the picture has only come to light thanks to my sister. Just this last week, in this book here, which is a copy of the Orkney Saga, a translation of it, there's a letter which explains the motivation behind why my grandfather was taking this picture. So we'll get to that, but first of all, I'll show you this camera here. Let me take you a bit closer. Here's the case. So we open the case. Here we have all the little bits and bobs. This is the lens, which goes on shortly. This piece of black cloth is a tube. These ends have some old and not working elastic on them, so you'd fit your hands in here. This is your portable darkroom. If you have to change your glass slides in your camera or something like that whilst you're out on site, you can do it all by feel inside your wee portable darkroom. These lovely wooden things are what you could have 6 pre-prepared glass plates inside these. Each one of these is numbered. There's 1, on the other side here is 2, I've got 3, 4 and 5 and 6. So what you do before you begin is you undo your clips there, open this, you'd put a glass plate in here, then this metal divider goes on top of the plate, you put another plate on this side, you carefully close them up, and then close your little clips. There you go, you've got this ready. You would, if you're needing them, you'd prepare 6 there, and you'd be all set. This is the camera itself, but before I show you that, I'll show you this here. When my father first showed me this camera, he saw this was still in there and he laughed about the fact there was this dog food advert. Now if you can imagine Maeshowe being a chambered cairn, it's very dark in there, and at that time torches weren't as good as the little LED ones we have these days. They were a bit dim, so it would have been difficult to focus on just the scratches in the stone. So my father, who would have been 10 at the time, he took this and he put it up against the wall and held it there. My grandfather, his father, focused on this, which is a nice high contrast and you can see it better, and then he'd take it away and you'd be ready to take the photograph. So there you go. That's what that's all about. Now, the camera itself. The only clue as to what type of camera it is this on here, which says Boots Cash Chemist. So it obviously came from a boots shop. Right. These little brass lugs here, this is going to be the bottom of the camera when we've got it open. These little brass lugs are for the tripod to hook onto, and I seem to remember from when I was a very wee boy there being a thin broken tripod which was full of woodworm and yeah, no longer have that. So whilst I restore all this, I'll possibly try and make one of those. And of course, saying it here means I'm more likely to do it, because now I've told you I'm going to do it. Right, this opens like that. And then we turn these little knobs here to keep it from falling back down again. This pulls out kind of like that. Now you see this lug here, it's got to get on the other side of this, this screw. These little bits down here, there's another one on this side, are slightly misaligned, but they make this awkward, and this is just all a bit too fiddly. I have got to straighten some things when I come to do this. It goes up there. And now there's a little brass, let's see if we can get them on there. There we go, there's a little brass plate here with, as it's sprung, little catches on it, and it goes behind this bit here. And I've got to make sure it gets the right side of that little brass thing there. There we go. Then that clicks into the little place for it there. And we screw those little screws on. And there we are. A camera all set up. Now, you can spend a lot of money and buy tilt shift lenses for your camera. In the days of this camera, it was all part of the camera. So if you undid those, you could shift your lens up and down, and you could tilt it backwards and forwards. And that just made it easier to line your camera up with things that weren't nice and square onto you. But this is fine. There we are. So the back of the camera, we can move back and forwards. The front of the camera, we can move backwards and forwards. In here, you might see a split there. I'll have to fix that. This bit of string here, which I need to feed back through the front of the here. This complex bit of mechanism is the shutter mechanism. So you pull the string and it goes, and then you let go and it comes back. The spring isn't working properly, various things on here aren't proper. On this side, this little dial has your shutter speed on it. So this is how you set your shutter speed. And alas, the actual shutter, which lives in here, isn't working properly. There's the shutter and it doesn't go all the way and it doesn't behind it there. So yeah, fortunately, juggling the camera. Fortunately, I trained as an instrument technician, and these are the sorts of things I can fix. So I shall be doing some work on that. The last part to fix on this is the lens that goes in that place there. Do that. Now, when you're focusing on, oh, nearly forgot a bit. It's this here, and this fits on here. And you look down into there and you see what that's pointing at. So this is your rough framing there, and it's got a little thing there which you can turn around to make it more appropriate for portrait or for landscape. So that's quite cute. But once you've got your rough framing sorted, you then put a cloth over your head and over the camera here, and you'll see on this ground glass screen whatever the lens is looking at. I believe my grandfather just took his jacket and put it over his head and made a little dark space for himself that way. Then once you've done that, open the little brass thing here. This opens up, and then you take your wooden contraption here with number 1 on the side here. Slide that into that slot there. This brass catch should go over and hold it in, but again it's loose, so Then undo the catch there, pull that up, making sure this doesn't jiggle or it ruins everything with a little light in. There you go. Now you're all set. Again, in the dark, yeah, we'll turn it around. In the dark, you need plenty of light. So how that was done in those days is you'd have a table telling you how much of a roll of magnesium tape you need to cut. And you'd cut that section of magnesium tape, hold it in a little clip in your one hand, light the other end, and it would burn for a predetermined length of time, based on its length obviously. It takes that long to burn. You hold it close to what you're taking your picture of. Once it burns out, you then put this back down there, and your exposed plate in there is nice and safe. So once you've done that, you can either just take another exposure by taking that out, turning it around and exposing it, or more likely you take that out, then you put your little door back, you go and focus on, go and take it somewhere else, focus on something else, put that in, take another photo. And that's how this would have worked. The next question is, what does this book have to do with my grandfather's motivation? Let's move the camera again. There we are. I'll put this to one side. Now this book, like I said before, it's the Orkney Saga. It's the translation done by Alexander Burt Taylor. Now, inside here, this is my father's copy, by the way, and inside here my father had stuck this letter, which is from Alexander Burt Taylor, who says, "Mr. Rendell has sent me the Maeshowe photographs. I am much obliged to you for the trouble you have taken." Carries on and says other things. Mr. Rendell would be Robert Rendell, who was a well-known Orkney poet and amateur naturalist. He was born in Glasgow, but his parents came from Westray, and when he was a boy they moved back to Kirkwall and he lived there for the rest of his days. So he was contacted by Alexander Burt Taylor to get some pictures of the Maeshowe dragon and the runes inside Maeshowe. And he knew my grandfather lived close and had a camera and did all that, so he got him to do that. And there we are. That is a small connection with this translation of the Orkney Saga, and why my grandfather was wandering about inside a very dark hole taking some photographs. So I hope you have enjoyed this mostly coherent ramble about my grandfather's camera. If you have, a like, a comment and or a subscribe would be awfully nice. I shall be back next week rambling on about something else. And in the meantime, have fun till then.